Today is the day we're going to install the AEV bumper. Most of you guys know I've had this truck now for about a little over 2 years, and I've always wanted the AEV edition, but I could not get an allocation for one. So I decided to get this truck instead, and I knew I was going to at some point switch off the bumpers. Now, I did get my bumper at Stricter Auto. It was a takeoff from a truck that was damaged, brand new, everything works. Well, I haven't checked the fog lights and stuff like that, but I'm gonna check it here in a second. But we'll check everything once we get it installed. But there's a lot to do. I've already resprayed these mounting hardware. These are the weldments, and they had some damage on them. So I figured while they're still out the truck, let's just get them touched up as much as possible. That way we don't have any rust. I also sprayed this part of the frame here. So when you take off all the old hardware, obviously this wax coating comes along with it. Again, it's not something you have to do, but if you're someone who's not wanting to have to deal with rust in the future, I just highly recommend it. It took me like 5 minutes, and all I used was, here, I'll show you to you. It's inside the house. It's cold today, so I have to leave everything in here. But yeah, you guys see right there, this is just the Rust-Oleum's rubberized black coating, and it's gonna pretty much mirror what you see already on the truck. So you have to spray these two locations here, right? Those two there, and you have to spray right below here. Hopefully you can see that better now. So just spray all these areas to prevent rust. Really easy to go on, it dries fast, and it matches what's already on the truck. Now, in the last video that I did, because I didn't get this from AEV, I had to get a mounting hardware kit. So I have most of the hardware right here. Okay. Some washers. And you have to get this trim piece because you're gonna replace all the factory stuff here. So if you don't buy your bumper from AEV, you have to get the mounting hardware kit. And what's optional is the radiator. So that radiator skid plate goes onto the bumper. So you're not gonna be using the one that came on the AT4X trucks, okay? So that has to get replaced as well. So all in, I'm in around $2,700 rounded off, like $2,600 and some change, but $2,700 rounded off basically. And the factory bumper is $5,300, so I'm still saving some money. And the good news is I get to sell my bumper here. So that bumper will be sold along with the red recovery hooks and all the stuff that came off basically, including that skid plate. So figure $2,000, $2,500 if you want all this stuff. If not, I'll just sell it on eBay or something like that. But let's go ahead and get started. So based off of the directions, they want you to install the pencil braces first, okay? So this is the right side, okay? And I would assume right side is driver's side, but that's not the case here. So passenger is considered right side. You can see the R on there. And there's 2 holes under here. I'm not sure which one it goes in, so I'm gonna just use the furthest hole. And if I need to, I'll just undo it later. But you're gonna need this nut that was provided plus the washer, okay? So I'll show you guys what it looks like once it's installed. So here's a quick peek at what it looks like installed. And on this side, hopefully you'll see that nut with the washer right there. And then we gotta do the same thing on the other side. Just like that. And you guys see it is loose, so don't over tighten it right now, because when you go to mount the bumper, you're gonna have that pretty much adjust to fit perfectly. So up next, you guys see I have the weldments here along with the upper weldments. So these are 2 pieces on both sides. I already have them up there. You can see how this screw hole is mounted. And then on the driver's side, you see how it's mounted. That's how they're supposed to go on, because the trim piece that goes here, which is called the air baffle. The air baffle is gonna pretty much use these holes here, or squares I should say, to connect, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But before you tighten anything down, because I just had to undo this, you're gonna have to use these holes where your tow hooks came out of. You're gonna have to use those first. Now they do provide the bolts for that, and you saw them earlier. They look pretty much like the factory stuff here, but I decided to use the new stuff there. So why not? Hey, new bolts, right, I might as well use them. And I am going to be reusing some of my older bolts too. There's no rhyme or reason to why, I just want to. Some things I'm going to reuse, some things I'm going to use new. And in this case, I'm going to use the older bolts here. Notice how I took off the upper weldment, because I want to show you guys something. You have these lines here, and then you have these circles down here. You're going to have to line this up perfectly with the lines and the circles. That way you have proper fitment. So you might need extra pair of hands to hold this while you bolt it down. And that way, and you have to have your tools next to you as well. And this is kind of why I decided to do the extra coating, because I can see that I'm scraping off what I've already put on there. So it's just a good idea to keep this stuff coated, that way it doesn't rust in the future. So go ahead and start bolting it down. Not 100%, but just enough to where it will hold. Like that. And like that. And then we're gonna try it again. Get it nice and lined up. That way when we go to put the bumper on, we don't have to take all this back down again because it's not properly aligned. All right, that's good. And then, like I said, it's just a good idea to have extra pair of hands. And then from there, all you have to do is just line up. Well, actually you don't have to line them up. They're already lined up here. If you've done everything correctly, all you have to do is just tighten the rest of the bolts, the top two one, and then you have to do the ones that were holding the recovery hooks, okay? And just so you know, I'm reusing my bolts. These are 15 mils. I think what comes in the kit is 18 millimeters. You're not done with adjustment yet. So now with this upper weldment, you have to do the exact same thing. So they give you the lines for this, and there's a circle on the driver's side. But yeah, you're just aligning it to make sure when you go to put this all back up, it goes up properly. You don't have to do adjustments later. So I would say this is where you're gonna spend most of your time. It's just make sure this is perfect. All right, so that looks pretty good. Just gotta lift this side up a little bit. And I think I went a little too tight, so let's undo it. Right there. I think right. Come on. Right there. I gotta loosen it just a little bit more. That should be good. Perfect. So this is perfectly aligned. Let's go ahead and tighten back up. So far, I would dub this the hardest part of the install, is making sure that these bolts are tight enough and aligned perfectly, because you have to torque these down. I just torqued them down to JBREVIEWS specs. So let's go ahead and tighten down these bolts here. Remember, there's 4, 2 on each side, and that's where the recovery hooks were. And then we'll move on to the next step. Let's see if you can see this. I know this camera doesn't really pick up that well, but that's a 17 mil. This is an 18 mil. Watch this. Whoever did this is a joke. This is so funny. Yep, these are different sizes, guys. Just as an FYI. And I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. Yeah. So That's all done. At this point, I think we're about ready. Oh, actually we have to put the air baffle in. That's next. Let's go ahead and discuss that really quickly because there's some parts to it. Now I'm sure you guys saw these green pieces here. These are gonna pretty much install inside of the bracket like this. Super easy to do. All I did was just push them in like this, and they're supposed to expand, basically. Oops, just lost one there. Hold on one second. And this one goes in like this. At that point, you have these black screws that are gonna pretty much hold in this trim piece here. So all I have is a number 7. You can use a wrench, but I have like a really small screwdriver I could use. And there's 4 of them, so you don't want too much power. That's all I'm gonna put on this. That's all it needs. It's just holding up the baffle secure. And actually before I put some torque on it, I'm just gonna put all the screws in first before I torque it down. That way it mounts up the way I want it to, like this. All right, so right there, that's good, that's good, and perfect. And it does hang up here too, by the way. Not sure if you guys noticed that, so. Yep, that's all you need, guys, and it's done. So here comes the fun part. I've already gotten this weighed for you guys in previous videos, and it's not lightweight. I could lift that bumper, no problem. And it's not even that heavy in terms of the actual weight. When you think of the weight, it's not that heavy, but because of how long it is, it's heavier because of that. And I have to carry it from here to there. So I'm gonna see if my wife can come help me just really quickly, because I just want her to maybe put down the blanket. That way we don't damage it. And then I can lift it up to install it. So what I'll tell you is go ahead and have all your nuts and bolts ready to go. I'm gonna reuse these bolts right here. So these 4 bolts go on the top of the old bumper, and I'm gonna reuse these again. All right, so that's set right there. Drop it. Is it fit? Is it sitting? Okay, perfect. I'm super happy I did this upgrade. I know that these bumpers have been out for a while now, so it's nothing new, but I like this look so much better. And if you get it brand new, or if you get it from a wrecker yard, it should already have the parking sensors, fog lights, and the engine block heater already there with the wire harness. So I'm gonna check all that to make sure it works before we put this up. And then from there, you know, I kind of wish I had a little bit more cash lying around for that winch, because all jokes aside, this sucker is heavy. And yeah, that winch is probably another, what, 60 pounds maybe? I'm not really sure how much winches weigh, but that's really the only thing I kind of wish I would have done now, but not a big deal. I'm not gonna be using it anyways, because I don't really plan on going off-road seriously. So obviously, because I have the regular ET4X, I wanted to show you guys what it would look like if you kept up this skid plate. Now, obviously, I mean, the odds of you damaging this is slim to none. You could be going down the highway and something could hit this, but highly unlikely. It's just nice to have the protection, but I like the finishing off of this part of it. So we're gonna go ahead and obviously take this down. I already have that radiator skid plate there. So I'll show you guys how to do that. Now, down here, you have to bolt up the bumper here and there. So that's 4 bolts. And then I've already done the one on each side. So one here, and then the other one is here. And then there's one down below. Hopefully you can see it better now. And there's one on each side. Now you can see there's another screw hole down there, but you're not going to use that one. There's only 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom. That's it. Now in case you're struggling to put these bolts, and I figured I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. I've done this so much in the past. It's just second nature to me now. So this will at the very least get it started in there. And that way you don't have to struggle, because it's really, actually, you know what? This trim piece does come off too. So if you don't have a magnetic tool like this, you can get this from AutoZone. They're so cheap. You should have 10 of these lying around, because I lose stuff all the time. Especially when you work on little cars like that over there. I have the Corvette. This just makes it so much easier. So now I can just knock those in there and start on the bottom ones. And by the way, I just built this. I went ahead and plugged in the wire harness and the engine block heater plugs right there. I took down the skid plate. There's just 2, 4, 6 bolts holding that up if you have AT4X or a ZR2. And this is a piece I was not expecting to get from AEV. Now, if you're putting your winch in, you're gonna be using the mounting points here for that at the very top, I believe. And all we gotta do now is just pop this in. Oh man, thank you AEV for sending that. I was not expecting that trim piece, guys. And it just finishes off the top of it here. This is where the free spool goes right here too, I think. But who knows, if these videos do good enough, maybe I'll buy the winch sooner than later. But yeah, that winch alone is like $2,300. And I kind of want a worn winch, unless Come Up's willing to give me a deal, more so than what they're showing on the AEV website. So we'll have to see if they're willing to do a deal. Maybe I'll stick with Come Up, because 12,500 pounds, yeah. So I can't put on my radiator skid plate because I don't have the closeouts on the side. So all that's left is for me to cut these, and I might power wash them before I put them back in. So I might need my wife's help to hold these down, and I might use a crayon to trace first. That way, because the paper might be a little hard basically to hold, I guess, best way to put it. That way I can just follow a line with the cut, and then that way I don't have to worry about holding a paper plus trying to cut. So that should help things a little bit easier. Maybe I'll put that on camera, I don't know. Because I'm gonna need my wife's help to hold down the carpet and make sure we get it all perfect, because I don't wanna mess this up. You can buy these already pre-cut from GM. There's part numbers already off of AEV's website. So if you don't wanna do all this, maybe you have the cash, go ahead and just buy them already cut. And if I mess up, that's probably what I'll have to do too. So yeah, pretty much all I have to do now is just put in the radiator skid plate, the closeout, and then that's gonna pretty much end this video. I almost forgot about the pencil brace. Completely almost skipped that. So I would have caught it eventually. Well, you guys see, you have to get these nuts here. And I'm gonna use washers. It didn't say to use washers, but I figured I'll use some washers. And then you have the 2 on this side. And then you have the other 2 on this side. And let's see. I wonder, see, it looks like you might have to use the other. No, it fits, never mind. As I told you guys, there's another screw hole inside of here. You guys can probably see it now. But I think you're supposed to use this one here. I think that's the right one. But if not, if I make any adjustments, I'll let you know. So now we're gonna cut the wheel well. Now here's what you're gonna have to do. Flip the paper over. You're gonna have to trace the other side. So this just says LH. Flip it back over one more time. So you guys see it says LH wheel liner. But when I called AEV, they said that this means left-hand drive wheel liner trim template. So I asked him, hey, do I just use it the same for both sides? And he said yes, but no, you have to trace it, because if you cut it this way on the other side, it's not gonna be correct. we're pretty much down to the wire. These are the closeout trim pieces. By the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted 7 of these screws. I only got 12 because on AEV's website they said 12 count, but I guess it's 14. But we'll find out. Maybe we have to reuse some basically in this install, so you don't necessarily have to buy extra. So we'll confirm that here in a second. But at this point, you guys know how to do it from here. I was gonna show you guys how to do the radiator, but I'm just ready to end this video. This video's been going way too long. But right here, let's go ahead and see. In case you just really need to know, this is where that skid plate's gonna attach to right there. Also, right here, I believe. I already have the closeout up on this side. It fits in there, but it's definitely, yeah, you're gonna have to really wiggle it in there. And it does have like a connection right here on the end of it, close to the tire, that you have to push into. So once you get it in there, it's pretty much smooth sailing. But let me go ahead and get this skid plate up, and then that'll pretty much end this video. If I find out any tricks or some tips that might help, I'll let you know. Now this is gonna be the front of the skid plate. You guys see how we connected these U-bolts, as they call it? Okay. And I don't feel like going to get my jack, so I'm just gonna use my creeper and see if I can just do this with my knees. But yeah, at this point it should be pretty self-explanatory. For these U-bolts, you're gonna use these bolts here. It looks like it's a Torx. I'll let you guys know what it is in a second. And then you have these 15 mils. So I'm gonna start with these, and then I'll bolt the rest of it up. I just wanna get it in there the best I can, and then I'll just finish off bolting it in. So as I discussed, I went in with this on my knees. I pushed up on it. I put these 2 bolts in, and then I put these back 2 bolts in too. Now, unfortunately, you're gonna have to put these 4 T40s in first, okay? Those have to go in first. There's 4 of them, T40s. And then once you get these in, everything else will align. But if you do those bolts first, these will not align. So it took me about 5 minutes. I didn't read the directions for this. I figured I would just figure it out on my own, but guys, it's in there. I did cut my wheel liners wrong. So let me show you guys online. I think that they made this confusing personally. And in case I didn't explain it already, you have to trace it on the opposite side here. That way you can cut it for both sides too. But let me go ahead and show you guys real quickly online, and then I'll pretty much end the video. I'm on AEV's website, and down below you'll see you have the instructions, and then you have the wheel liner template. So I will not confirm or deny that I did cut this line here, thinking that that's where you're supposed to make the cut, but in fact you're supposed to cut it down here. But I saw scissors and I was not paying attention. I should have known better, because that takes off so much of the liner that I should have seen it. But regardless, I had to buy new liners, and they're not that expensive. So $79.90 for the left side, AEV edition, so you don't have to cut these. And then this is the other part number. So these part numbers on AEV's website, the ones here for the GMC, are not correct. So the ones I'm showing you here, this is the left side, this is the part number here, and then this is the right side. And I bought these, they fit perfectly, no issues. Lastly, if you are obviously buying this, you have to get the closeouts for that radiator skid plate. So these are the correct part numbers for that. And you're going to need 14 of these screws. That way you have enough to bolt that in entirely. So apart from that, it should be pretty easy. Hopefully this video is helpful. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Oh yeah, one last thing too. I might as well just go ahead and mention this now, because if you are installing this bumper, be sure to put a level up here to make sure that it's 100% perfect, because mine was off ever so slightly and I had to adjust it a little bit. So just keep that in mind before you start bolting everything down.